Welcome to our Forest all over the world pre-match with Mark, who is in Western Australia at the moment. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the Wolves game this weekend. Obviously, the League Cup happened midweek and some recruitment as we near the end of deadline day. Let's roll the music. And I'll bang this up as well, so everyone can see it. That's where to follow us, everyone. Forest all over on YouTube, at Forest all over on Instagram, at NFFC all over on Twitter or X. Let's see if I can fade it out a little better than normal. Mark, how are you doing? You're all the way down in Western Australia in Albany, is that right? What time is it with you?
Yeah, so it is at the moment. It's about 10 to 9 in the evening. So a nice time. I think last time I was on, and it would have been around midnight, something like that. So yeah, going well and enjoying the season so far.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's just the start of the season. We played 3 matches, 1 League Cup game there last night against Newcastle, 2 Premier League games. In general, how are you feeling about this little early bit of the start of the season? Just in general, how are you feeling?
I think being a Forest fan, I'm not getting ahead of myself. I think I'm happy that we've got the points. I'm already starting to, I think, upwards of 38 points is the target this season. So to get points on the board is huge, but it's a long season. And yeah, just hoping we can continue that this week before the international break.
Yeah, and look, as we near the international break, obviously deadline day is looming. We'll chat more about recruitment or what not recruitment we haven't got right. I think we've got most of it right, to be honest with you. But we'll chat more about that as the episode goes on. But primarily, this is a Wolves preview. We've just drawn with Bournemouth there on the opening day, and then beaten Southampton a week later. We've just lost on penalties last night in the League Cup. A great showing, by the way. I mean, I missed quite a bit of the first half, but came in with about 10 minutes to go the first half, and I felt like our energy was really high. I just sat down and went, whoa, what's going on here? It felt like for a team that was our 10 out of 11 new starters in who didn't play on Saturday, it felt like we were going to be up against it from the off, and even though they scored within 18 seconds, I really believe that we look strong this season, and last night was a proof that we've got depth as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the simple message I sent through to you after the game was we've got depth this year, and to have a fairly different side out and still look so competitive, considering what Newcastle put out as well. We did fantastically well. It was really impressive and exciting to see some of the new faces and what they've got to show. Starting to think about whether or not they will be moving into the side on the weekend. But yeah, it was really, really impressive to see such a good performance.
Just as well, like great for confidence. Sosa looked really good. To pick out some individuals, Moreira is only 18 and he looks anything but lightweight. He looked like he really kind of belonged there. And I'd mentioned that a few times during pre-season. But, Jota Silva scoring that kind of goal, and then he had a couple of moments where he wriggled away from a couple of Newcastle players and got fouled in the second half, and he just seems like a really good day for some of our debutants and some of our new signings. Even Milenkovic coming on late and then scoring the penalty with calmness and ease. It just felt, and Miguel, of course, penalty save and played really well second half. I think Miguel, he had a good second half. Gosh, he's tall. He's a mountain of a man. It just that's the overall takeaway I'm taking from it. But also, like, we're disappointed to go out, but ultimately, with the amount of new players we had in yesterday, that shows a real depth, and it shows competition for places, which will be great for the weekend game against Wolves. In terms of this weekend, sorry to throw you straight in it, but starting team, would you go back to what we had in the win against Southampton, or would you add a little bit of flavour from last night's League Cup match?
Yeah, I think personally, I wouldn't change a winning side. I would certainly have the newer signings coming on. I think I wouldn't start them. I think I'd bring them on with about 20, 25 minutes to go, just to see how they go. It'd be hard to replace anyone from the side after the win last week. And I think even in goals, I noticed a lot of on social media, obviously very happy with Miguel and his performance, but still believe Sells hasn't done massively or hasn't made any massive mistakes. So I can't see him being replaced on the weekend. And I think he's good to hold his spot. I would say it depends on Aina and whether he plays. I'd bring Moreno straight in rather than Toffolo on the left, but I think the rest I would keep as we played on Saturday.
Just on that, Moreno
Mm.
yesterday, that's another player I didn't mention, but gosh, he looked good. Like I was concerned about a bit of fitness for him, but he looked like he was really on top. I mean, he just looked fit, ready to go, was getting stuck in. He looked quicker than I expected for a 31-year-old. I mean, I'm 37. Who am I talking? But like, he just looked ready to go, primed and ready, good on the overlap. And obviously, Aina's got his fitness issues. I would still start Aina ahead of him, but I wonder switch Aina to the right hand side and Moreno on the left when fit. Not that Williams has done anything bad, but I just wonder, like, now what is our best combination? You know what I mean? I mean, after seeing them last night, would you be starting Moreno in left back and putting Aina right back?
I'd still be playing Nico. I think the way he finished last season, and I think seeing as how early it is this year, I'd still be playing Nico. I certainly think he's earned his spot. So I'd be keeping him on the right, Aina on the left. But yeah, as I said, unless Aina isn't 100% fit, I think throw Moreno in and just see how we go, because he really did well last night. So it was impressive.
And the thing is, we look fairly well oiled now. I think Gary O'Neill's a good manager, and I think Wolves have done reasonably well last season, all things considered, but they've lost a couple of their key players. Neto's gone off to Chelsea, of course. And, you know, they did score 2 against Chelsea last week, but lost 6-2 in the end, got absolutely battered. Their confidence is low. We look pretty well oiled. You know what I mean? Like that win against Southampton was a big deal for us. You know, it's our first win of the season, first away win, even though it's Southampton. It's good to get off the mark. And we just look like we're a really difficult team to beat at the moment. Would you say we're slight favourites going into the weekend against Wolves?
I would say we're favourites. I mean, to say that Wolves haven't taken a point this season, you know, the first 2 games, Arsenal and Chelsea, I don't think they would have been expecting too much. They would have definitely penciled us in as the one that they think they could get points from. So heading into it, I think there'll be plenty of chances. I love how we're going at the back. I feel a lot more confident with Milenkovic back there. Up front, I think watching the games so far, it comes back to finishing the chances that you have. And I would love to see us put a few away early on the weekend, because the thought of Cunha and even Huang as well, like these guys were pretty lethal. So, yeah, I think if we take our chances, we could put the game to bed early. If not, it could be the same old Forest, you know, heading into the final 10 minutes and giving us all heart palpitations because we haven't put those earlier chances away. But that's where their weakness is, I think, is their back line. And I think it's a back 3 from what I've seen previously, but that's where their headaches are. So if we can take advantage of that, I think we will win comfortably. But if we don't take the chances, I can see us possibly dropping points right at the end again. We seem to be very, very consistent doing that.
Yeah, and not last week or this week, luckily. You know what I mean? Obviously, Newcastle turned on the pressure at the end of the game yesterday. And Southampton couldn't really get a sniff at the end of that game on Saturday. It was just the Bournemouth game. It felt like, oh, this is the same old Forest, you know what I mean? Conceding late when you have a chance to win the game. But I felt like Bournemouth were a lot more in the game than
Yeah, that's right.
we like to think. Like they really were, you know, they were heavily in that game, and they're a decent side. They drew with Newcastle last weekend themselves. They're not a bad side. They disallowed goal to win it at the end as well. They're well coached. But yeah, just to take you up on that point, I suppose Kilman's gone from Wolves. That's another one. So their back line is slightly weakened. He was probably their best defender. Looking at our back line, Omobamidele and Bolly, you know, came in last night. Abbott as well. Fair play to him. Huge shout out to him. Academy product. But we just looked really, really solid, all things considered. Obviously, apart from the goal that we got caught out for early on, I just feel like that's our second string defensive line. You know, we're going to have Milenkovic and Murillo starting. pretty much every game, I imagine, in a 4-4, in a 4-1-2, in a 4-2-1, in a 4-2-3-1 formation. Sorry, I always get it mixed up. But if we four at the back, those two are probably going to start. So I suppose the question is do we have enough depth there in defence now? Is that covered? Because in midfield, obviously, we had one injury, huge, horrific injury to Danilo a couple of weeks ago. And now we're looking at getting a number 8 in. Up front, we know we need a striker because Woods, the other side of 30, and Taiwo's, I mean, he had 90 minutes last night. That was great for him, to be fair. And I thought he had a good second half and brought the ball down well and brought people into play. Apart from his penalty that he scored, I actually thought he had a really good second half. But we're looking at striker. We're looking at number 8. Are we looking at defender? Like, who do you think we're bringing in now in the window as the deadline draws closer?
I think in terms of strikers, it seems to change every morning. I wake up and check the latest rumours, and our 2 key targets obviously didn't fall through. So I don't know. What I'm concerned about is an impulse buy on deadline day, and spending that money that we probably may not potentially need to spend until January. If Chris Wood can stay fit, and Taiwo, I think, needs game time. It's been a long time since he's put a string of games together. Some of the finishing and the penalty, it's all confidence. And I think if he can stay on and get some minutes in his legs, I think 1 or 2 goals in, and we'll start seeing that old Taiwo again. But hopefully he gets those opportunities. Within the midfield, I'm not too sure. I have to say, in terms of Anderson, big fan. Last year, I know we spoke a lot about Sangare and having him hopefully come good, and he's had a good start to the season. But really like Elliot Anderson, very confident player, tactically really good. He was pinging those balls around last night. Really impressed with him. I think even to have Nico Dominguez on the bench and players like that coming off, I'm not too concerned within the midfield. I'd say right in that central defence position, Bolly staying fit, and we're okay within the first few months of the season. But an injury to Bolly, and I think, having an extra backup would be ideal. It just depends on who we can get, and if that's someone that we see pushing for first team time as well, and not just someone who's more of a squad player. But we'll just have to wait and see. I think the main thing would be a striker later on in the season. But I think, judging by how well our scouts have done previously, I'd be a bit concerned if we quickly went in for someone in these final moments of the transfer window. I think I'm still cautious as well of overspending and within the past 2 seasons and what's happened there. So, midfield, I would leave. I'd hope that defence solid and injury-free, and then I would be really looking for that striker to come in January for the second half of the season. Sorry.
Yeah, no, like the thing is, it's difficult, Mark, is because we've been stung both ways. We were stung the first season with injuries, and I remember we had 4 or 5 centre backs out when Cooper was in charge that first season. Then last season we were stung with PSR, so we kind of don't want to overspend. So we're caught between a rock and a hard place of, do we spend to get the extra bodies in, or do we not?
Yeah.
And we've just had a massive injury like 2 weeks ago. So now there ends up being 4 main midfielders in Sangare, Yates, Anderson, and Dominguez. So, do we need a backup just in case? Same with the defense. Obviously, Joe Worrell's just left, but I suppose that's kind of where I'm at. I just think our focus has to be on getting a striker in. We have enough wingers now. Jota Silva and Sosa look like ready replacements. Like after last night specifically, I would start Elanga and Hudson-Odoi, but those two look like they're willing and able to step in as and when. But it's just a case of whether we overspend or whether we still need those players. But I saw someone, I think it was Adam Wicklow, he's from Red Side of the Trent, someone post something there on Twitter, and he mentioned, look, if we don't end up getting the striker, he's saying, we'd be happy enough to hold on to Wood and Taiwo as long as they stay fit until January. Then we can kind of reassess, which is kind of fine as long as we don't end up playing a false 9. We don't end up playing a false 9 situation, because I just don't think that works for us. But look, back to Wolves. games this Saturday. What do you predict the outcome to be? I'll give you a quick score prediction to run through, and then you give me some red hot takes as well. Do you think we win this game? You said we're favourites earlier. We're buzzing a little bit around the City Ground. Everyone seems to be upbeat about this season and seems to think we'll definitely get north of 40 points. Do you think we're better than them, and should we beat them?
Yeah, look, I think before coming on here, I had a quick look at the highlights of Wolves' win last night. So they played Burnley, and it was strange seeing Joe Worrell at the back for Burnley. But
Oh,
Wolves
jeez,
did
I
look,
forgot.
yeah,
I didn't.
it was it
Watch
was
me.
bizarre. It was
Oh,
bizarre
it's
seeing
weird.
them.
Yeah, and what you were rooting from? Obviously, you're thinking, come on, Burnley, come on, Joe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, just to see, like, I was kind of watching him, but keeping an eye on how Wolves went, and they were pretty impressive. I don't know if it was their full strength side, but they look pretty impressive. So they're quite a good counter attack side as well. So I think Forest will win 3-1. I think we will concede, but I think 3-1, and I think we'll head into that international break on a real high, and be undefeated, which would be awesome. So my main I guess concern is Cunha. Having watched him a fair bit last season, he's a great player, and if we can keep him quiet, I think we do it comfortably. But yeah, I don't know. I'm always, being a Forest fan, I'm never
cagey.
100%. Yeah. So
Yeah.
3-1's my prediction. What about you? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, to be honest, this weekend, there's a whole different outlook to this weekend. When we started the season, had we, let's say, had that draw against Bournemouth, and then let's say we went away to Southampton and either drew or lost, and
Yeah,
we didn't get 3 points from one of those first two games, the outlook going into this game would feel a lot different. It would feel like there's a lot more pressure. It would feel like we have to get a win. Otherwise, we'd be going into the international break without a win. So the outlook's different now. It looks like an opportunity, right? We're after beating Southampton away, keeping a clean sheet. So the defense and even Sells and goal are going to be full of confidence. And I think we will win, yeah. And I think we should win. I think we're better
yeah,
than Wolves. I think Gary O'Neill's a good coach, but they're missing players. They're in a little bit of disarray. They probably need the international break themselves. They probably need to get a couple of signings over on deadline day as well. And that won't happen by the time we play them. So
absolutely.
I think we should win. I think we will win. I think they will score. I think we'll win 2-1. And then we might go up 2-0 and then they'll score and it'll be a bit cagey towards the back end. It's going to be a good bit of bite as well, because that's sort of like faux rivalry we have now with Wolves after the Morgan Gibbs White stuff and the fingers in the air, and love his
Yeah,
celebration last year. I think Gibbs White will score actually, because I just think he'd be well up for it. He'd be taking shots and getting in dangerous positions, and even after he scored from a header there in the corner last year against Wolves. So I think we'll win 2-1. And I think Gibbs White will score two. And you'll put fingers in
two.
the air twice. Two. I think Gibbs White will score two. One will be a penalty.
Yeah,
And then the other one will be just from open play. So yeah, I'm putting my money on that. I have him in my fantasy football team. He'll be there. He
yeah.
won't be my captain, but yeah, I think he'll score two. But yeah, I'm excited for the weekend. I do worry that, like, as soon as we get hit with that sort of first loss, like any Forest fan, the panic starts to set in. And I really just like to not lose this game this weekend and go into the
Yeah,
international break undefeated. So, like, even like, I'm not saying I would take a draw, but if we get a draw, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? I don't think we've beaten Wolves in the Premier League since we've been up. We've drawn with them a few times and lost them once away. We beat them in the League Cup on penalties, but yeah, it's going to be a tough game. There's going to be a lot of bite about it, and I just hope we don't get sucked into that and play our own game. In terms of strikers, there's been rumors flying around. Chris Wood, for me, starts all day now because he's played himself into form over the last few months, even prior in the other season. But like, would you welcome a new striker, and how do you think that would affect the competition for places and mental competition as well? If Taiwo could affect him mentally, Matt was talking to me about this in the podcast the other day.
yeah.
It could actually affect his confidence a lot, and he's just after missing a penalty last night, so it's compounded. But
Mm.
do you care? Do you just want another striker in to compete?
I think to bring another striker in is to bring in a different kind of striker. I think that's where Nketiah would have been a really good signing, because he's very different to Wood and Awoniyi. I still think both of those players are quite similar. A fully fit Awonyi's got the pace as well. I'd be starting Wood, and I'd continue to play him because he's just been so consistent. But to bring in another striker, I think I'd like to see someone a bit different, not such a traditional hold-up man, dominant in the air. Someone with a bit more pace,
less of a
like a
less of a
natural
nine,
finisher.
less of a nine, and more of like yeah, someone like you said, the profile of Nketiah who can kind of
Yeah,
drift out wide and get in behind the lines. Less of like a Chris Wood Taiwo who takes the ball down, holds it up, lays it off for the wingers to come into play. You even though we play that style of play right now, you'd be looking for a different profile player so we can mix it up, right?
yeah, I think so, and I think it gives you that opportunity where Nuno then has that chance if a game's not going in a particular direction, he can bring a different type of player on, switch the formation up a bit, go with a different tactic. I think we're pretty limited at the moment. Chris Wood is one of those players that I, you think you've got him pigeonholed and you think you know what he's like, and then I go back to that game against Newcastle, and you just think, where's this come from? Like he's pulling out all sorts of things. Same with the header, which I know Matt's a big fan of, the backwards header that he did last season. All these sort of things that pop up. He's just an amazing player. But yeah, I think having a different style of striker, one with pace and a real natural finisher, I think would do us wonders. And I kind of get the feeling that's what they were going for. Obviously, I've seen Nketiah play a fair bit, but in terms of the other players that they're targeting, I don't know too much about, to be honest. I haven't seen a huge amount. But yeah,
Right. Sorry to cut you off, but right
yeah,
now it looks like, I mean, Nketiah deal's dead. He's gone to Palace. Jimenez is off that deal allegedly. I mean, who knows? But apparently it's off now. So
yeah,
we don't know what we're looking for. We're apparently looking at other strikers now.
yeah.
But for the most part, like I think about to go back to your thing about Chris Wood. And by the way, it was me. I can't give Matt credit for anything. It was me who
That was
said that
you.
about. It was me who said that about the header. I love that header. Um,
Yeah.
Matt loved the Dominguez header, but I loved the Chris Wood header.
Yeah.
I think it was my goal of the season last year.
Yeah, yeah,
The Wood header. I just think you're right. He surprises us consistently. He's scoring all different types of goals since he's been with us, from the tap ins to the rounding the keepers to the little dink chips to the headers to whatever. The one thing I've noticed about his ability is he has a really, really good knack to time his forward runs when he's in the box so as not to be offside. I
yeah,
don't know if there is an offside Wood goal out there, but it seems like every time it goes to VAR, he's just onside. And that's a real striker ability right there, just to be able to time your runs. And obviously with VAR now, it makes it very difficult for a striker. So he has this knack, and it's just getting in between and in behind defenders without getting offside. And I love it. I really do. And I just hope he can stay fit for the majority of the season as well, because he was a godsend to us last year.
mm,
And I really am excited to see Taiwo come back as well. Like last night, seeing him play 90 minutes was kind of a win already for us as far as fans,
yeah,
because we love him so much and he scored so many important goals. Excuse my voice gone. Scored so
yeah,
many important goals. But yeah. Where are you watching the game at the weekend, by the way? Like obviously you watched the highlights because it was overnight. I was messaging you last night because we couldn't
yeah,
get a time sorted, and I was trying to message other people then today as well. But where were you watching the game last night? You watched it afterwards? Are you going to do the same this
yeah.
weekend?
No, so yeah, I've got a subscription TV thing, so watched the replay, but couldn't help myself before the replay came on. I had a quick look just to double check, and then yeah, had a watch before work, and yeah, I was as I said before, like really impressed, but almost a little surprised as a fan to look at it and think, geez, we got some depth there, and it felt good knowing that this is us playing really well against the top team. And then there's all those players on the bench who would normally be playing, who weren't actually starting. So it was really impressive. But my games are watched in the comfort of my home. Normally, these games, like the one on the weekend, come on about 10 p.m. Um, on
Is that too
Saturday
late? Is
night.
that too late for you? Like 10 p.m. Not too bad. You watch from
It's not
10 to
too bad.
12.
It's
Yeah.
not too bad, yeah. So I usually watch that game. Sometimes if it's like a Sunday night or a Monday night game, obviously it's mid morning. It's a bit trickier. I struggle to get through the day the next day, getting a bit older. But yeah, so 10 o'clock. It's just one of those things. Being in Australia, we're used to being up in the early hours to watch the games, and so no, yeah, it'd be amazing to see the games, mid afternoon and in daylight. But yeah, I'm happy watching them at 10 o'clock. It's a bit later over east. We've got a few hours time difference. So over in Sydney, Melbourne, they end up getting them even later. So they do well to get up in beyond midnight and get up and watch those games.
Well, there's a huge supporters group over in Sydney,
Huge,
and
yeah.
I wonder over there in the Eastern Australia, because you're in Albany, Western Australia. I wonder, like, do they just call up a pub that they have and they just do a lock in the middle of the night when the games are on? Because it'd be early hours of the morning. Am I right in saying that? It'd be like 1, 2 o'clock, something like that. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, it would be early hours. Absolutely. I'm not too sure, to be fair. There's a few groups within social media and stuff that I've joined onto. I've got a shirt on the way in the mail, which is a official Nottingham Forest Australian supporters shirt.
class?
So there's lots of supporters out there. And yeah, I know there's fans in Perth as well that like to get together when they can. And so yeah, it's just one of those things, when you love the
So
club, you'll get up anytime.
is there a Perth supporters group? I should know this, right? Because I check out all the Forest all over the world groups. But is there a Perth supporters group
I
near you?
believe
Have
so,
you
yeah. Yeah.
you've never been to it yourself?
Well, no, I was so I lived in Perth most of my life before moving here. But that time was, most of the time I was in Perth, we were, you know, EFL club sort of,
Yeah.
championship and so on. So the odd game would come up, but it would usually be, a cup tie or something like that if we were playing a Premier
Rarely
League side.
televised. Yeah.
Yeah, I did the Forest player for a season or two as well. So there's always been access, but at the moment, the fact that they're in the Premier League, we get every game. It's awesome. Like it's fantastic to have
Yeah.
such coverage and tying that in with the podcasts and listening. I've got Forest every day now, which I never had previously. So it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a different, like, even I've said this a million times before, even me in Ireland, I used to reflick the teletext when I was younger to get a specific page to see if we'd any transfers. And it just it became a thing where, like, I was just literally the only one. I was like, I'm gonna watch Forest, and people were like, what? And it wasn't a big thing even over here. I mean, there are Irish supporters groups, and there's lots of Irish supporters out there. Shout out to Shane, who I met actually a couple of weeks ago on the plane on the way over. We had a drink together. But yeah, like there's loads of supporters groups now, and it's just popping up, and with social media and everything out there, you can see where they are, what they're doing, where they're going. You even have people who are traveling to different countries going and watching it with that supporters group that they happen to be with. That happened with Toronto. There was a family that came in when I was at the Toronto Trickies. Shout out to
Yeah,
them as well. So it's just cool. I'm just interested, and I wondered if you'd ever gone to any of the supporters groups yourself, because it can be a laugh. But I suppose we're all getting older. We can't do that every week, and we can't go drink late at night, which is what it'd be for you, while we're watching the games and try and get home and get ready for a Sunday. Look, thanks so much for coming on. There's a few more things I want to talk about. I'll go through some red hot takes that I think you have, so get them in your head there, because I know you've mentioned them
yeah,
to me
yeah,
already, and I hope one of them doesn't come true. But yeah, I think this weekend is all about, for us and for all the Forest fans around the world, just realizing we're in such a better place than we have been before. And last night's game sort of really typifies how much depth we have. I think that's the right word. You're a teacher, you should know. But
yeah,
it really does typify how much depth we have. And the fact that the players really went out and gave good dogged energy as well was something I loved. Was they weren't holding back. They all wanted a place. They all fought like they were playing for a starting place. And I was just really, really impressed. And that, at the end of the day, that kind of does come down to Nuno. It really, really does. But yeah, give me one of your red hot takes to start, and then we'll go on to a second one, and then we'll sound out of here.
Absolutely. Before I do, I totally agree with what you're saying. I felt the energy and the passion for wanting to play, particularly with Jota, just the desire in a cup game and all. Yeah, so definitely agree with that one. Red hot take. Red hot take.
Well, I'm just gonna hang on. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna chuck my charger in. Hold that
yeah,
thought.
go for it.
Just gonna chuck my charger in.
Go for it.
Right, we're still there. Don't want to leave dead air for the audio listeners because I mightn't edit much of this. Right, chargers in. Go for it. First red hot take. Hit me with it.
Red hot take.
We've had some good
Pretty
ones.
standard.
We've had some good ones. Yeah.
Good one. Milenkovic, player of the season. I think a few people have mentioned that before. I think
Lukewarm
we
hot
are
take.
solid.
Really, that's not that hot because I think we all think he will be player of the season. Or no, we think he'd be the best signing. Yeah, go on. Sorry, go on.
Well, I kind of think if the previous season, I feel like Taiwo was amazing and kind of saved us. Last season, if we can get those two firing both in good form, I think that's going to be amazing. Big red hot take. I think come January, I know you don't like this one, but I think Gibbs White is gone. I think he's going to play at a certain standard between now and Christmas, and I think it's going to be that final confirmation for some of those other clubs to jump in. So I know it's not a big
just
one.
wait
And
till
I
next
don't want him to
summer.
go
Can we
either.
just have a? Can we just wait till next summer? Like that, we can do that. We
I
don't
would
need to.
love that. I was stoked that he, they're still here. Murillo, I think a lot of us believe we're believing that one or both may be going. So to have them still, very, very happy.
3 days left in the deadline, but I don't think they're going. They're not going to go till at least the next window or the window after. So, your red take is he'll be gone in the January transfer window.
In January, yeah.
Yeah,
I hope
top
not.
6 club.
Yeah. I think somewhere like a Newcastle, but I hope not. But saying that, in terms of other red hot takes,
Here's another one.
No, this one's not really red hot take, but it's more of a. I actually think Sells will hold out and play the season. I don't think Miguel will come in for him and knock him off his number one perch.
That's a reasonably good red hot take because we've been in for keepers. Miguel had a good game last night in the League Cup, and to be fair, he had a really good game. To be fair, like it constantly looks like we're searching for answers to a problem that isn't really there. It looks like the club is trying to solve the keeper problem, but we're like, hang on, we kind of have already solved it with Sells.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a good take. That
I think had we not had the issues last season, nobody'd be mentioning anything. I think it'd just be, Sells is fine, but we've got used to almost a keeper has a bad game or makes a mistake, and it's like, right, well, who are we bringing in instead? And Miguel's first appearance, impressive, and saved a penalty as well. So, but I think Sells will hold down that spot for the season, and future for Miguel. And I definitely think Anderson is long term and will be go down as a Forest legend. Just from what I've seen so far, I think we hold on to him, and I think he's a long term prospect for us.
Nice. Okay, well that's it. Well, you had a positive one after a slightly negative one. You mentioned something else to me earlier on WhatsApp, and I don't know if I should say it because it's the timing.
Look, I was concerned about Taiwo. All I'll say is I'm slightly concerned, and after the game yesterday, but after sleeping on it and after thinking about it, I think it's confidence. And I think if I was Nuno, I would still be bringing him off the bench and then get the international break in, get a few more sessions in, and then perhaps, give him a shot against. I would play him against one of those top 6 teams when we play those. We got Liverpool away. I'd love to see him up there causing havoc at Anfield. That'd be fantastic. So have faith in Taiwo. That's my message. I just
hope. Yeah, 100, and he scores. But to be fair, both strikers score in the big games. Wood scored against City and Newcastle. Taiwo scored against Liverpool and Arsenal. But overall, I think you're right. I think sleeping on it helps as well, right? I had a couple of points in the pub last night. I was watching it and then woke up today a bit dreary and thought about it. And look, he skied the penalty, but overall, he didn't get many really clear-cut chances to score. And the other stuff he did in the game I thought was really good. So I'm just happy to see him play 90 minutes. And I think if he can just stay fit, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I know that's easier said than done because he hasn't stayed fit, but like
Yeah.
I'm excited to see more from him. And yeah, okay. So look, that's it. We'll do review corners and various other Forest all over the world stuff next week of post Wolves. I'll do that with Matt. But
Awesome.
thanks for coming on all the way from Western Australia. I know you
Thanks,
put your kids to bed, and I really appreciate it. Anything else you want to say?
Fatherly stuff done.
Yeah, yeah. Anything you want to say this weekend for this pre-match against Wolves? Anything else you want to sort of summarize with?
Yeah, no, I think in terms of Sangare, I did see, I think looking on social media, even as a fan, can be a bit toxic sometimes because a lot of that negative stuff kind of sticks out. Look, his penalty was he hit the barb. I think the way he started the season, I think he's still going to have a really strong season and be one of our main players. I could already see a few people starting to turn. You think he's, start of the season, everyone's confident and happy with him, and then we're back on his back again. But no, I think as a fan, let's get behind him and let's get to that international break with 7 points. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and I agree. By the way, just to add to what you said, I think everyone at one moment or another, be it in a brief rash moment or after sleeping on it or being annoyed at your team, you're allowed to feel how you want to feel about certain players. But for the most part, I don't think any of us should be worried. We've been undefeated in 90 minutes and been unlucky to lose in a penalty shootout against a team that really wants that trophy in Newcastle last night. And then this weekend we play Wolves. We're favourites going in. And, we've picked up a good win last week. We should still be really positive, particularly with the depth of our squad as well. So I'm not concerned. I've liked what I've seen from everyone. There's been a few rusty players here and there, but for the most part, we look solid. And I think we'll win this weekend. And with that, follow us at forestallover on Instagram or at NFFC all over on Twitter. I'll put the banner up here. I'll roll in some music and then roll out and say goodbye. And just enjoy Wolves, enjoy Wolves, enjoy it all. Thank you, Mark, from Western Australia, for this Forest all over the world pre-match with Wolves. We do really, really, really appreciate your top man. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, mate. Take care.
I'm off to Croatia now, by the way. I'm flying out in a few hours. We're still recording.
Awesome.